One.
What I've been wanting since they wreck.
No, I
Be my baby.
Duly noted.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, melt, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, hide it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it, drag it, drop it, zip and zip it, lock it, fill it, curl it, find it, view it, code it, jump and lock it, surf it, scroll it, close
All
it, click it,
right,
cross it,
and
drag it,
welcome to the pilot episode of this podcast.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Duly noted.
Duly noted. And for those of you who are already subscribed to this channel, you now know what I look like.
Well, that's weird.
I know, right? Oh, God, breaking the illusion that I'm not just an alto clef with a top hat.
Hello, darkness,
Oh my God.
old friend.
Regardless, this is a music podcast dedicated to covering all facets of music, whether it be classical, whether it be rap, whether it be jazz, whether it be rock, pop, or EDM.
EDM, yep.
EDM.
Light on the country.
Yeah, like a bit light on the country. I mean, it's mentioned if it charts in like the top 5. Other than that, I usually don't mention it.
So for those of you joining us for the first time, which is all of you, we'll be covering what we're listening to, some of the news, tours and releases, and a special segment I'm going to save for the Ma3stro to discuss a little bit later.
Yep, and of course, I am the Ma3stro, or as some of you have taken to calling me, the Ma3stro.
The Ma3stro.
Ma3stro.
It's not a 3.
It's not a 3. It's a C clef.
I've used it as a 3 before.
Yeah, I hear a lot of people use it as a 3.
Nobody notices, though.
Yeah. Well, simply the way it is. And would you like to introduce yourself to everyone on the internet?
Oh, I am Tim, and I play tuba. That's my thing. I'm a colleague of Dave's here at the Art Institute of Michigan. Shout out to the Art Institute of Michigan for these glorious lights that are shining on our faces. I'm in a band called Vox Ad Nil. That's V with a or V as in voice, because Vox is Latin for voice. So you should check out Vox Ad Nil. Do it.
Absolutely.
Do it.
And we'll be sure to link that in the description. Just go ahead and click down there.
My shameless plug for the day.
Absolutely. We're going to have a shameless plug for the day.
Yeah, every day.
Get a plug counter going.
Good.
Regardless.
do it.
Let's go ahead and hop into it. So, what have you been listening to?
You know, I generally stay in the A-list section of the Apple Music, and I've been listening to a lot of Nothing More. They're a super dope sort of new metal band. They hit the airwaves with a jam called Jenny, which they recently re-released. It's way better now. It was really good then. But there's a song, Fade In, Fade Out. It is so heavy. It debilitates me. I just weep.
I remember listening to The Stories We Tell Ourselves, and the big hit off that I think was Go to War.
That's right.
Go to war!
And yeah, they've taken some interesting creative directions, but I think that Fade In, Fade Out's very good. Very good. And the new Judas Priest.
Oh, that's right.
Sounds like old Judas Priest.
That's always
so
good.
I've been spending a lot of time with that jam as well.
All right.
How about you? What have you been listening to?
I only ever listen to what I'm reviewing. If you're a fan of the channel, you know I do the record rundown, and I'm basically only listening to that. No, yep, counting the plugs. But what have I been going through today? A lot of jazz. There was one classical.
You like
album.
jazz?
You like jazz? Welcome to the Meme Podcast, the Meme Cast.
I know what you mean.
Yep. Well, that's that. So the 10-Tenors released an album. It's honestly I'm surprised not an acapella group. They do this stupidly over the top orchestral version of "We Are the Champions."
Oh, dude. It's like the Nightwish song
Right?
Ghost Love Score, but bigger somehow. It's crazy.
Nothing too astonishing about it. It's 10 Australians singing, which is actually you wouldn't have guessed they're Australian if you just heard them.
Right.
Other than that, some jazz. Kathleen Sadat with Thomas Lauderdale's Pink Martini. Great old traditional, more kind of blues, doing tracks back from like the 30s and earlier. The Delvin Lamar Organ Trio. Great funk album. Basically, this is I'm just gonna repeat the episode that came out on Friday. Go check that out.
Do it.
Third plug. Keith Jarrett's trio with Gary Peacock and Jack DeJohnette. The big one for jazz. the Miles Davis and John Coltrane concert in Copenhagen, March 24th, 1960, which you could only get previously via bootleg.
Very difficult to acquire a decent quality version.
Yep, and you can only buy that on vinyl because, that's that demographic. The one I want to talk about more specifically, though, is Tory Lane's Memories Don't Die. For those of you who aren't familiar with Tory Lanez, he's a Canadian rapper, kind of out of the same area that Drake is. And there was always a back and forth between the two of them. Tory Lanez was a fan of Drake. He would say, it was like, I'm not trying to start beef, just trying to, challenge him and kind of more like an acknowledgement sort of thing. But Drake's Drake, so he's,
Are all of his beats in A? I did it.
But the weird thing about this, and I mentioned this on the show on Friday, is that there are a couple of tracks which are like 2 songs. Like halfway through, you'll hear some like a static, and the beat and tempo will completely change.
It's like a weird Frankenstein thing happening there.
I guess, but like Frankenstein was like sewed together. This is almost like it just changed tracks. There's 3 on there. What is it? It's Old Friends X New Foes, BBWW X Fake Show, and Happiness X Tell Me. And all of those 3 change. I don't even know if it's halfway through the song, but they change completely.
Do you think that's intended to give something like a live sort of feel to it, like mid-concert shifting into a transition to a new song?
Looking at the album, there might be a certain programmatic element to it. It might be trying to tell a certain story. Because, I mean, the first and the last one, Old Friends, New Foes, is that's a programmatic thing. Or like Happiness and then Tell Me. BBWW, a fake show, I couldn't tell you. Mostly because I don't know what BBWW stands for.
Big beers with wine.
Yep, big beers.
Did it.
Big beers with wine.
I did
wine
it.
beers. That's exactly what Tory Lanez is going about. Ultimately, it wasn't. Some people were. There was this one rated by The Guardian gave it 1 star.
Ouch.
And the guy just tore into it.
Ouch.
But I'm listening to it. I'm like, it's not that bad.
That's a bad score even out of 2.
I mean, it's not the cleanser that I wanted. And I say cleanser because the week before that, there was the 6ix9ine mixtape, which was bad. I did not like it.
I'm sure we'll talk a little more about him later.
Yeah, but, so I was hoping for more of an ear cleanser. But there is a hip-hop album that was released yesterday. When we go over the releases, I'm really excited for. But we'll get to that later in the show. But that's really all I've been listening to. It was a bunch of jazz. Oddly enough.
You like jazz?
You like jazz?
I'm fortunate enough to not have such like on rails listening because I mean you're sort of bound to what your program requires of you.
So.
The new Muse is super dope. It's
it?
really really interesting. A lot of bizarre effects are
I'm
played out.
expecting because it's Muse. I'm expecting that to chart.
Oh yeah, I'm certain it's going to chart if it hasn't already. New Shinedown, didn't like it very much.
Yeah, I remember.
They're trying really hard to be sort of follow this wave of what I'm calling like inspire rock,
right,
and the construction of the new song Devil, not particularly interesting. New Chris Cornell.
Oh, it's
yeah, the You Never Knew My Mind, a Johnny Cash cover. Very interesting music.
Yeah.
Very, very good stuff. And there was another one, or was it really, really great? Royal Blood Jam. I Only Lie When I Love You. Really great song. It's been out for a minute.
I'm not familiar with Royal Blood.
They had this jam called Lights Out that hopped on the Apple Rock A-list before it hopped on the alternative and hard rock. And it was just this really cool groove. And that's just their thing. It's sort of like a groove rock band. And this I Only Lie song is really interesting from a musical perspective because it shifts keys sort of with just random drop modulation. So there's like no warning and there's no pivot or anything like that, like technically speaking. So in that it has some really interesting just musical effects along with the interesting words. I think they're very, very, very good. I really enjoy this stuff. And of course, Greta Van Fleet is always on the list now because they're just new Led Zeppelin.
I remember they. Let me look. They had something that charted. I believe it was
Safari Song or Highway Tune. Highway Tune was everywhere.
Highway Tune is the one I played from, but I remember they're from the Fires.
Yes.
I don't forget that was an album or an EP.
I think it was the EP.
I just remember commenting that the EP they released before that, it was actually completely in from the Fires, and they just added another one to it.
Right.
So from a audio distribution standpoint, I'm like, did you want to get it out early? Did you want to? I'm not understanding what the thought process was between that sort of release schedule.
Well, I think it may have something to do with the fact that the Highway tune sort of pushed them into the spotlight when Chevy picked it up to push the Equinox.
I'm sorry.
Womp womp. So the Chevy marketing team really pushed this jam, put this really young band of high schoolers
They
from
are
like Frankenmuth.
They're
They're
incredible.
Frankenmuth, right?
I believe they are.
And
from Frankenmuth.
they're, I suspect that there may be, and of course I have very little to back this opinion up, but there may be some creative blockage. They're a riff-oriented, Led Zeppelin heavily influenced ensemble, and maybe it's difficult to make new jams like that. They're kids, maybe their chops aren't up, who knows? But the fact that the following EP had a lot of double tracks tells me that they probably have some creative blockage.
Well, just looking at them, three of them are siblings, the Kizkas.
Yeah, the singer, guitarist, and I want to say the drummer.
I do know they have, it's the three Kizkas and a Danny Wagner.
Wagner.
We're gonna have that discussion.
Oh, we will.
I mean, no, I get it. Richard Wagner. I'll agree with you on that. But like, his name is Danny Wagner.
Danny Wagner. Ja, ich liebe meine
I have no idea if he's actually German. But they had a previous member, Kyle Hawk, Hauck.
Want me to give you another shot at that?
Hauck. We're going with the German. Hauck.
Just make glottal sounds.
Kyle. But yeah, they're phenomenally young. And every time I see Highway Tune, all I can ever think of is Deep Purple's Highway Star.
It's, they're not the same.
I know they sound completely different, but every time I see that, that's what goes off in my head.
Yeah, and this formulaic writing that they have, where they play an interesting riff, and I don't care for the Safari riff because every cover I've ever heard of it is just bad. That bad-ow, the thing that they're doing in that, right. Followed by the drums coming in with him singing a high note for a while and ending it on a word like mama or yeah. I'm just not crazy about it. It's the AC/DC syndrome. Let's make every song the same, and I think that'll doom them.
Well, they're young. They have time to mature. They'll come into their own, I'm sure. I mean, I hated Justin Bieber for a long time.
He's a believer.
I'm not a believer.
He's a believer.
I just appreciate,
in time.
He's come out with good stuff. I can't deny that. And he has matured. He's not a little
he's not peeing in buckets anymore.
A little crap he was when he was younger, and even then but he's matured. I remember him seen in the Carly Rae Jepsen music video. I really, really, really like you, and he's not featured in it at all. He just shows up dancing near the end.
That's bizarre,
right?
Something like that happened recently. I've been listening to the new Basement Tapes, which is sort of a tribute to the not late Bob Dylan. Don't know why I thought he was dead.
Yeah,
totally dead.
He's
definitely around, even though the times are a-changin'.
Anyway,
they covered this song called Kansas City, and it's sort of a super group featuring Mumford and some other musicians. And I'm watching the video, the recording, which they do in one take. It's really, really impressive. And the guy
doing the OK Go thing?
Yeah, well, the guy doing the sort of lead line, very rudimentary sounding lead line, was Johnny Depp, just out of nowhere, playing a semi-hollow, just blue guitar. Pretty well. Sounds pretty good.
I'd like to believe that he just walked into the shot and just started playing. They're like, you know what? Let's just go with it.
Hey, Mumford, can I join? Pretty please. Got some gravity problem with my mic. There we go.
I'm trying to get away from Tim Burton and trying to kill his wife constantly.
Womp womp. Oompa, oompa. All right. So that will conclude our What We're Listening To segment. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the news.
The news.
Right into the news. No.
Going off the 10-teners joke.
Womp womp.
So the first thing I want to talk about, and I'm really excited for this, is that In an interview with the San Diego Union Tribune, a George Varga interviewed Herbie Hancock.
Who's that?
The famous...
Right? Oh, no. What's that? You guys watch... were you one of the 5 people that watched the Cleveland show? There was a bit in there where the youngest character said, he's like, I'm trying to think of this melody, and he named some jazz I didn't know of. And he's like, it goes like this, and then Cleveland's like, no, that's Herbie Hancock. He's like, oh man, you Herbie Hancock blocked me.
But Tish.
Ha ha.
But in an interview, Herbie Hancock mentioned he's working on a new album, and he's working with the likes of like Kendrick Lamar is the big one. Others are Common, Snoop Dogg, and that immediately grabbed my attention.
Yeah,
because I'm a huge fan of mixing of the genres.
Oh yeah, well I mean, and those genres have historically really informed each other. Like, I'm sort of resistant to the notion that one genre gives birth to another and then they exist in a vacuum from one another. So as things developed out of jazz and blues, and you end up in a situation where you have sort of this funk-influenced jazz, progressive music, bringing in someone from the hip-hop scene seems like a natural thing to do because of the way things have progressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I do know he's released a couple of more hip-hop inspired tracks and albums throughout his career. So the fact that he's dropped Kendrick Lamar, and Kendrick Lamar is huge right now, after his Damn album and doing the soundtrack to Black Panther. Which is really,
well, first I want to just appreciate that for a second, because that's the workflow that they used for that film is just remarkable. I mean, you've seen instances in which artists of non-classical music are involved in the score, like in
Tron Legacy is a big one that I know with Daft Punk.
Oh yeah, or the M83 with that movie Oblivion with Tom Cruise, and Steven Tyler on Armageddon, like in Linkin Park, in every Transformers movie.
For those of you who forget, What I've Done was made for the Transformers series.
Literally made for Michael Bay. And Imagine Dragons most recently in the last 2 installments of Transformers. Poor kids. And so usually it's a sort of isolated process. So you have score and song. But the consultation structure that they used with Kendrick Lamar, do you want to talk just a little bit about that? Really interesting stuff when we were discussing this in show prep.
I ended up reviewing the Black Panther soundtrack because it's charted. It's still #1 right now. In both R&B and on the Billboard 200, and I immediately loved it. I am also a big fan of the movie, but I'm a huge sucker for superhero movies, especially Marvel movies. But it's funny because when you're looking at it, the guy who did the score to that was one Ludwig Göransson, who's a Swedish man, doing the score to a movie about a Central African nation.
Fictional
fictional, but it takes place. I mean, it's designed to be. It is Wakanda it borders Kenya. It is Central African, but it's always funny when you see the credits scroll and you see these fantastic like black artists, and then Ludwig Göransson.
It's feeding ya.
Right, but apparently him and Ryan Coogler have worked together for years, so it's not exactly as unintuitive of a choice that it looks like. Regardless, so Ludwig Göransson did a lot of the score. He, he toured with a Senegalese artist. He went to a music library in Africa to listen to just hundreds upon hundreds of recordings of African tribes. And he approached Kendrick Lamar because he wanted to incorporate some aspects of the soundtrack into the score. You can especially hear that when he writes Eric Killmonger's theme. So it's this, he uses the themes he's created for the Wakandan people, but also incorporates this like West Coast hip-hop beat because Eric Killmonger, the movie character, grew up in Oakland.
Which, I don't know what theater you saw it in, but we saw it, me and my friends saw it in the local Imagine franchise, and the sound system that they have there just did such justice to that mix. The way the hi-hat came through on that score was just disgusting in a good way. It was really, really well done, and it's sort of a strange thing because anytime you encounter sort of hip-hop or to a certain but lesser extent rock and metal in cinema music, it kind of ends up becoming a little muddy with the score because those people who are working on those mixes are primarily orchestral cats or rock cats, and they don't really know how to handle it. So
Right.
when you encounter a team that combines score with West Coast hip hop, and it just sounds really great in a really great theater setting, it's really a wonderful thing.
Yeah, so if you ever wanted to hear a traditional African talking drum played over a hip hop beat, check out Eric Killmonger's theme specifically from the score. Regardless, we seem to be strafing away from Herbie Hancock.
Oh yeah, that's what we were talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
My bad.
But so him wanting to work with Kendrick Lamar seems to be very much in theme with what Kendrick's been doing lately, getting his hands in everything. I know Kendrick Lamar even wants to be a villain in the next Black Panther movie.
Wow.
But Herbie Hancock and it's not just Kendrick Lamar. The list of musicians that he's working with are from all over the jazz and hip hop world. Just to run down a quick list, we've mentioned Kendrick Lamar, Snoop Dogg, Kamasi Washington, Derek Hodge, Robert Glasper, Flying Lotus, Wayne Shorter, Lionel Lueke, Zakir Hussain, Thundercat, Travis Scott, Common, and Terrace Martin's producing the whole thing.
Wow.
So it is quite the cast.
That's crazy. Could
And
you imagine the royalties contracts?
Oh God, I do not want to know how much money is going into that album.
It would probably be track by track.
It would have to be, because I know all of these people are not on every single track.
That's insane.
But it's amazing. So we got like the jazz people, Kamasi Washington, Derek Hodge, Robert Glasper, Wayne Shorter, Lionel Lueke, and then we have all the hip hop people, the Kendrick, Snoop Dogg, Travis Scott, Flying Lotus, and then we got a bunch of artists who are known for like they're being multi-instrumentalists. That's a mouthful. Like Thundercat, and I know Terrace Martin gets around, and then we have an Indian artist, Zakir Hussain.
I am not familiar.
Who's a tablaist. I did have to look him up, but he's a very talented player of the tabla.
For those of us who haven't studied the multicultural instrumental world, explain a little bit about the tabla.
So the tabla is like a more melodic drum. Like if you ever hear like the very stereotypical Indian music, normally that light percussive, like the blip dip blip, and you get the whoom, and you hear the blips.
How'd it go again? I missed all of that.
So you got the whoom, and then you got the blips, and a tabla is the blips.
And you got the fleeps and the sweeps.
And the creeps. Welcome to Spaceballs, the podcast.
You are looking at now. Anyway, sorry. I apologize. I'm constantly derailing this poor man.
It's fine. That's what we have notes for. And apparently, if you just Google tabla, one of the things to pop up is a Shape of You cover played on the tabla.
Interesting.
But imagine it more of as it's like a more. I'm hesitant to say melodic because you're not playing scales on it, but they're very much pitched drums. Like imagine a tom on a drum kit tuned very tightly. Like it does not have that much resonance. You're looking at the higher frequencies.
Just lots of impact.
Like watching the videos of a lot of classical Indian instrumentalists is just fascinating. A lot of people associate the Indian classical music with the sitar,
and harmonic minor,
instrument. Right? But the drums that you hear, those are frequently tablas. But he's going to be involved in the album, and I'm really excited to see what Herbie Hancock does.
I kind of like listening to young film composers do anything with Middle Eastern music because they'll correctly write to achieve that aesthetic music for hand percussion, but it'll always be bongos or congas. Always.
And bongos and congas more associated with Latin music.
Yeah.
I'm not terribly familiar with my Middle Eastern instrumentation.
Oh, well.
Arabian instrumentation.
Shame.
I'd have to brush up on it. I haven't had to give an ethnomusicology lecture in quite some time.
I haven't had to ever, although I've taken classes.
Right, and I think in traditional conservatory, well, at Michigan they made us take an ethnomusicology class.
Good.
But and I've had to lecture on it a handful of times.
Yeah. So what else you got in the news?
Another big thing is so Star Wars is hot right now, I hear. Yeah, I don't know.
What's that?
Star Wars is this kind of like sci-fi fantasy merger. It's about there's these things called the Jedi.
Is that the one with
Jedi?
William Shatner?
Yes, that is that. That's right. It's the one with
He
Shatner.
makes a great wizard.
Gandalf is in it,
Wow.
and Hagrid.
Very cool. And when do they catch Pikachu?
After they digivolve. No, but so we've upset.
Oh,
a lot.
no.
We've upset a lot of people.
Mostly just me.
Regardless, so Star Wars is a big thing. The episode 8 just came out, The Last Jedi. And a lot of people know, and if you don't, the composer for it is John Williams. He's been with the series ever since the 70s, the first original trilogy. And in an interview that Jim Svejda did with KUSC, he announced that he's gonna be retiring from Star Wars.
That's heartbreaking.
He's not retiring entirely, but he's been with Star Wars for ever.
A
very long time. And he's 87, I believe.
Well, he started a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, he's getting up there. He's also conducting Chicago soon,
86,
which is really exciting.
But yeah, he mentioned that he's gonna stop. He's gonna try to take himself out of it. And here we do have a clip from the interview that I can play that does say this. So let me just go ahead and get that queued up.
He's been doing that kind of often. I mean, he stepped away from Jurassic Park for the Jurassic World, the newer installments, and left it to Michael Giacchino. And
I believe that's who did it.
Yeah,
but
I just remarked on how awesome it was in spite of it like not being The Incredibles jazz, you know.
Right, but so let's go ahead and play that clip from the interview.
It makes the scene selection very simple.
Yeah.
We play all of them.
So in other words, at this point, you've got more music than Wagner wrote for the Ring cycle in your Star Wars films.
Probably so.
Yes.
Probably. And yet more to come. J.J. Abrams, there's a line that's recently, the rebellion is reborn, is said by someone in the film, I think it's Luke, giving us a hint that there's yet more to come. So we know J.J. Abrams is preparing one now that I will hopefully do next year for him. I look forward to it. It will round out a series of 9, and that will be quite enough for me. Disney Studios probably will take it further, as your listeners will know, that Disney has acquired the rights for Lucasfilm, and they will probably continue on through decades possibly of doing Star Wars-related attractions.
Yeah.
So I think it's all good. I always have to think that...
So we can hear there that he is alluding to the fact that he is going to step away. He's also alluding to the fact that Disney is going to run this for as long as they can.
It is a money machine. I mean, even the not-so-good Star Wars films, prior to Disney picking
trilogy?
up the... Well, I think that there are some good... I've heard really great academic arguments for some of their merits, but Episode 2 is undeniably bad.
There are academic arguments for Star Wars.
Episode 2 is undeniably bad. It just is horrible. And that still raked in a ridiculous amount of money.
It does.
And all the spin-offs, so it gave birth to the Bounty Hunter game for the GameCube, and I think Xbox, I don't think PlayStation, back in 2004 or something ridiculous like that. And even that really did really well, even though it wasn't that great of a game.
I mean, it's hit or miss with licensed games, but the Star Wars ones have typically, The Force Unleashed, the old Battlefront, the newer one had some turmoil.
All of the Knights of the Old Republic installments.
Oh yeah,
all of them.
Absolutely. But and now Disney owns Star Wars and Marvel. Mm-hmm. I am waiting for the Marvel Star Wars crossover. I want to see.
Please be real.
I want to see Spider-Man with a lightsaber.
Yeah, the Star Wars Episode 2 had a budget of $120 million and took home $650 million, which, even among, really high-performing films as a franchise, that's still a significant amount of cash for a bad movie, for an objectively bad movie.
So he's mentioned that, that we're in the middle of the third trilogy right now, and if any other trilogies get made, who's gonna do the music to it? Because he did mention that.
I would have to stop for a second. It just said movie recording has been stopped automatically.
Well,
how far back?
Just right when I said.
Okay,
that.
good.
So
let's keep rolling tape on the audio. Jaylyn, don't stop it. This will be a great time to have pause music over this dialogue. let's keep talking while our video producer. Oh, we're re-recording. That's great. So this will be fun for you to edit. Good. Good. So who's going to do the music is the question that was posed as the video crapped.
Right, and so it's like Disney has a ton of money. So they're probably going to go for somebody who's been doing a lot of movie music.
Hans Zimmer.
That was going to be one that I was going to bring up.
Hans White Keys.
Wah, wah, wah,
And then a big diatonic cluster.
wah, wah, wah.
Or my favorite. Bois.
Oh yes, the bois. The big bois.
Bois.
So there's that option. Also, the other composer was actually done in the Family Guy Star Wars joke show or episodes that they did. They mentioned that there's one bit where like the sand people burn down
I love this bit so much.
Burn down John Williams and his orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like Chris, who's playing Luke, all of a sudden goes, "Great, now it's gonna be left up to Danny Elfman." But that could be a thing.
It really
Danny
could.
Elfman is another one of the big film composers right now.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in younger blood. I mean, after Alan Silvestri was taken off the Avengers post the Disney takeover of Marvel back in like 2010 or whenever that was, they brought in this fellow Brian Tyler, who was only really known for some very small films. He did like the new version of Twister and the New Mutant Turtles, and then they gave him Iron Man 3 and Thor Dark World, and now he's been a busy man. While those aren't necessarily intellectually stimulating film scores, they still raked in a great deal of cash, and he is definitely a popular film composer now.
Right, and then it goes to, are they going to try to be a fake John Williams, that whatever composer they get, or is he going to try to take that style and make it their own?
I predict, and you can hold me to account on this, that it's going to be similar to what happened with Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. When they brought in Michael to cover John Williams stuff, it was material clearly from John Williams. He used all the correct motifs.
Right. I mean, I don't think you have to use it, especially the Darth Vader motif.
Absolutely. Well,
the
and when they did
March.
it in Jurassic Park and they did the Happy Dinosaurs music, the Happy Dinosaurs. I just love that stuff.
They're gonna kill all of you.
They treated it just so differently. He used just a piano. It sounded like a very thin mix on the piano, and like a big pad, film score pad, blah, And that's, John Williams would never have made that choice, but it fit the aesthetic, and it was very, very, very Michael,
But so I think for John Williams though, I believe he is doing the solo movie, and he says he's going to do the last of this trilogy, episode 9.
Yep, and that's it.
And then whatever they make after that, there have been talks of I forget if the Boba Fett and Yoda movie are anywhere near. I don't know I think the Yoda one was dropped. I don't know about the Boba Fett one, but you know what they might do? Who did the music to the animated series, like the Clone Wars and the one they're doing currently?
I have absolutely no idea, but I'm gonna you gonna consult Google?
Yeah, let me consult.
Good. I'm so bad at like the TV film or TV composer sort of scene. I know that there's a very vibrant market, but I just don't know any of the names.
So the various Clone Wars series, there's the one that ran in 2008. That music was done by Kevin Kiner. John Williams credited with the themes. Did I say that? Yes, Kevin Kiner. The one back in 2003, which was the cartoon, not the CGI one, that was done by James L. Venable and Paul Dinletter. Dinletter?
Want to try that again?
Dinletter.
Done
Done by my boy Paul.
Nice.
My boy Paul.
Nice.
For those are the older ones. That was pre-Disney. Just looking at those, what else they've done. Kiner looks like he did Star Trek Enterprise. He did the GoldenEye video game, and so that's the big one. Star Wars Rebels is the one that's currently running. He's also the composer on that one, so he might be a choice for the movies. As far as
that would be an elevation in pay.
As far as Venable for the earlier one, it looks like he did Scary Movie 4. He also did Jay and Silent Bob's super groovy cartoon movie, apparently.
Oh wow.
Looking,
That is some highfalutin literature right
it
there.
looks like, and he did the Powerpuff Girls movie, Deuce Bigelow, European Gigolo, the Venom
is that Shakespeare?
movie in 2005.
Is the Deuce Bigelow like classic or?
I have never seen Deuce Bigelow.
I
am just
neither
reading
have I.
from I'm just but it looks like he has a couple of one. Zach and Miri Make a Porno is one he did.
Classic.
It looks like Kevin Kiner would be in terms of composers who've done for Star Wars things, it looks like he'd be the more readily available one, especially since he's currently doing the Rebel series. I don't know if he's doing it with anybody. No, it is just Kiner.
Wow.
Kiner. I'm going to go with Kiner.
Yeah, I'm going to guess Kiner.
Yep.
All right, so give me the rundown on tours and releases. Who's running around? Who's finishing their tours?
Hard
Yes,
cut
sir.
To our next segment. So, what do we got? People who are starting their tours
Tour time.
this week. We have Mayday is starting their Life tour. They're going to be promoting the History of Tomorrow. That tour starts tomorrow. They're going to be starting off at the National Stadium in Kaohsiung, Taiwan. Welcome to me struggling through foreign city names. They are set to tour until September of this year. Total of 89 shows.
That is significant.
I don't know if anybody's familiar with Mayday
I am not.
or their album History of Tomorrow, but it is on the list I have.
Very nice. And apparently there's a market for it because 89 shows
That is a lot.
does not happen when you don't have a following.
And it is an international tour. They are ending in Australia.
Right. Down under.
God, we're a lot of Australia this week. Also starting a more recognizable name for maybe a lot of you, Sam Smith.
Who's that?
He is one of the newer neo soul singers, kind of in the vein of Ed Sheeran. He released The Thrill of It All. I remember when I looked at that album, I was very much reminded of Adele because it's a bunch of sad music.
So when it was
You're
over,
so sad, Sam.
when it was over, did you bring up the BB King? Was the thrill gone?
No, I did not make that connection. But he's doing the Thrill of It All tour. It starts on the 20th, and he's starting off in England at the Fly DSA Arena in
That's
Sheffield.
interesting.
He's going to be touring until November, and he has a total of 84 shows.
Wow.
That one I'm more not shocked at. Sam Smith is very much focused on pop music right now,
Sure.
and that album did pretty well.
It charted in the charts.
In that song, he says, "I am too good at goodbyes," which is why he's doing that many shows, because he doesn't want to say that he's too good at goodbyes.
Got him.
Got him. Done. One of the more historical names, and he's not dead. Bob Dylan.
What did he do? He did a thing.
I don't know. Something about times they may have been like morphing or something. I don't remember. He's a nobody. But he is starting the 2018 year of their never-ending tour.
No, the Never Ending Tour. Did he give it that name, or is that like
I'm pretty sure it was his fans. I think
like
he
a
may
colloquial
he may have
thing?
mentioned it passively, and then they just stuck to it.
That's hysterical.
But that starts on the 22nd. It's going to start at the Altice Arena in Lisbon, Portugal. I am sorry for those
I
of you
love
in
this
Portugal.
so much because it's usually me
Lisboa.
struggling to pronounce things,
Lisboa?
but now it just gets to be Dave because he's reading the thing. He's got the prompt, so I'm enjoying this a lot.
In Lisbon, Portugal. That goes only until the end of April. Very short tour.
Wow.
It's going to stop in Verona Arena in Italy.
My Verona.
26 shows.
Wow.
But it's the never-ending tour. So there'll be a 2019 version and a 2020 version.
It's like, what? When do I need more money? Oh, now.
I mean,
Let's do a tour.
it's like Bob Dylan's one of those few who's become like he's historically relevant. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how much more money do you are in textbooks?
I think he's
You are
in the newest version of the Grout.
You are in like people's dissertations.
Man.
But that's it for starting tours. Tours.
I love Tool.
Tool.
But the better band is Perfect Circle, in my opinion.
But people who are ending,
Fight me.
the first people, they are ending on the 20th. Not the song, but the band Rhapsody.
Oh,
They finished up their 20th anniversary farewell tour.
please tell me they wear blue. Oh, Iowa beer.
That's one of my favorite pieces. Regardless, they'll be ending in La Riviera in Madrid, Spain.
Oh, that sounded authentic
They
almost.
have been touring since April of last year.
Wow.
Well, it's their farewell tour, so that makes a lot of sense. They're gonna
guess.
keep it going.
Well, if you're going to be not doing it anymore, you might as well get as much out of your investment as possible.
But 72 shows.
72.
Which after the two that we just talked about that have up in the 80s,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, come on, Rhapsody, get your stuff together.
What you doing?
Who else is ending? Daniel Caesar. He was doing Freudian, a world tour for his album Freudian.
Did he let it slip?
Psychology.
I bet that helped with his ego.
He is ending at the 170 Wrestle in Melbourne, Australia.
Oh, wow.
That ends also on the 20th. He's been
Is that
touring...
just like the ending spot for everybody?
There's a lot of these that end in Australia.
Like if I start a tour and then do go to a few locations in Michigan, should I end somewhere in
go
Australia?
Go book the Sydney Opera House. I'm
Oh,
sure that's
yeah.
I'm sure that's affordable.
Sure, that's something I can afford.
But he's been touring since September of last year. He did 53 shows. Here we go. Another tour that's ending. This guy ending on the 23rd. Phil Collins. I've been okay. He's doing the Not Dead Yet tour. He's finishing that up.
I heard he can't dance.
Really?
Yeah.
Can he only dance by doing the drum thing?
He wrote a song called I Can't Dance. Or I Don't Dance, rather. Got him.
But he's ending on the 23rd. He's been touring since June of last year. He'll be ending in the Coliseo José Miguel Argelo.
Wow.
I actually know Spanish a little bit. So
I don't.
So that'll be a bit more easier.
But this will be in my heart.
That is in San Juan in Puerto Rico. So that show has not been canceled as far as I'm aware, and they are still going ahead with it.
Wow.
He did a total of 38 shows. You'll notice, I notice a lot of the older artists do less shows.
Yeah, they
And
give themselves
that makes
a lot of
sense.
downtime.
Minus one person in particular. Elton John is still going to tour and do millions of shows.
He is Elton John. Man, there have been some just delightful videos of his Vegas experience.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. People like throwing Mardi Gras beads at his face and coming up and like dancing and loving on him. And he's like, I just want to play piano.
Another person ending. They are ending also on the 23rd. A bit less known. Zara Larsson. She was doing a UK and Europe tour. She was promoting her album So Good. She started back in October of last year, and I'm glad I don't have to say the starting location of this one because it's Iceland, and my Icelandic is shaky at best. But regardless, she's ending in Sao Paulo, Brazil, at the Autodromo de Interlagos.
Wow.
That's a Spanish accent on a Portuguese word. No idea if that's correct. Those
Probably
of you,
not.
again, who speak Portuguese, feel free to critique me in the comments.
Do it. Also critique my Portuguese.
Thanks, Palpatine. She only did 21 shows, so despite it going, what a 6-month tour about, and
Yeah.
she's only 21 shows.
Wow, that's a lot of downtime.
And that's it for the tours. Those are the people starting and ending.
Wow.
Given we still have a bunch of other tours going on, but we'll get to them when we get to them.
We will get to them when we get to them.
All right, let's move on to the albums. We're just going to go through a lot of these. This is going to be for the week of March 23rd.
March 23rd.
So this upcoming week, we got Bless the Fall with Hard Feelings. I have no idea who Bless the Fall is.
Bless the Fall. I know this name. I hear it often in the sort of rock metal scene. I don't know. Not on my listening list.
Yeah, I got
What else you got?
Bonnie Doon with Long Wave.
I have no idea what that is.
Boy, we're off. We just don't know any of these people. Cavern of Antimatter, Hormone Lemonade.
Though I want to know who named their things so that they can influence what I name my next child.
Next, we got Erica Wennerstrom of Heartless Bastards. She's doing her solo thing called Sweet Unknown.
Very cool.
We got George Ezra, Staying at Tamara's. I got nothing.
I got nothing. Keep going. We'll get there.
Guided by Voices, Space Gun.
I wonder if they just pull these from press releases.
I'm convinced these are just like computer-generated names.
You know, if you go to those band name websites, you get some really good stuff.
I'm sure you do. Oh, here's one. Jack White.
Who's that?
Jack White. I think he was
I'm kidding,
associated
I'm
with
kidding.
oh god, what's that one group?
The White Stripes.
No, I was gonna say Black Sabbath. But Boarding House Reach.
I'm not done with Jack White though.
No, that's the album. Jack White's Boarding House Reach. So that'll be coming. I'm looking forward to that one. Jordan Davis, Home State.
Very nice.
I got nothing. Lissy's Castles.
Lissy's or
No,
Ulysses?
Lissy, and they have an album
Lissy,
called
that's different.
Castles.
That's different from Ulysses.
Lissie.
Very nice.
We got Mark Pitchard, The Four Worlds. We have a posthumous release, Rick Parfitt's Over and Out.
Oh.
So that's coming out. Here we go. Stone Temple Pilots.
Yeah.
With their album Stone Temple Pilots.
Well, the new song, Meadow, is a complete departure aesthetically from where they were. So, and that's been on the A-list for months now.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that. The Ma3stro, that consists of Joe Lally, Brendan Canty, and Anthony Pirog. The Ma3stro. The Ma3stro with the Ma3stro.
Interesting.
The Ma3stro, though.
What a meth.
The Sword, Used Future. Nothing.
I have nothing.
Tony Braxton, Sex and Cigarettes. For all those Tony Braxton fans out there. Here we go. Yamantaka, Sonic Titan, with their album Dirt.
Wow.
Dirt is all capitals. But yes,
Sonic Titan,
Yamantaka
dope.
/ Sonic Titan.
Wow, that is.
It sounds like a K-pop group.
That's like.
I think
that is excessively K-pop-ish.
I'm just gonna confirm. Yamantaka, Sonic Titan. Okay, that is one group. Wow, Canadian experimental group, and performance art collective.
I bet their stuff's all in A.
Boy, that's a thing that I was not expecting.
Wow. 3 sharps there.
And lastly, Preoccupations, new material. Good. I would be ashamed if they released old material.
Good. Well, not really. I mean, greatest hits albums do very well, as the charts show.
But yeah, so that's all you can look forward to coming out this upcoming week. I'll probably take a look at the Jack White track, probably the Stone Temple Pilots as well. Other than that, I don't know a lot of these.
Well, if there's anything that I do know, it's how little I know.
Deep.
#Socrates.
#Socrates.
We are but dust in the wind, Socrates, man.
That's a throwback. All right, so that does it for releases. So let's go ahead and move on to our final segment.
Would you explain and give the title?
So, what we're going to go into right now is what we've called as the vinyl verdict.
Final verdict.
And we're just going to talk about an asinine topic and have fun with it. You know, we can do all that in post, but I do appreciate the performance aspect to it.
It's important to do this kind of stuff live.
Regardless. So, this is always based off of stuff we've talked about in the show today, and because we've mentioned it so much, in fact, we got derailed from it and almost talked about solely the cinematic aspect. But so, Herbie Hancock has quite the lineup, and we went a lot on Marvel. So, using this list we have, who would be the Avengers?
Oh, man.
We'll start off with Herbie.
So if I could assign the talent to be an Avenger.
Exactly.
I think, in my opinion, in spite of the fact that he has 2 eyes, Herbie Hancock would, in this case, be an excellent candidate for Nick Fury because he's assembling the team.
I mean, I get that, but Nick Fury doesn't always have, he's always in the background, where Herbie Hancock, this is his thing. So I would sooner put him as Captain America.
But, well, maybe, but, Herbie Hancock is flying this enormous ship and is coming in to save the day.
But I think he's very much leading this. So I don't know. I see him.
I buy that for $1.
As more as Captain America. The bigger one that I would argue is who'd Kendrick Lamar be?
Oh man.
Well, from my point, if I'm making Herbie Hancock Captain America, that makes Kendrick Iron Man. I don't know if I agree with that.
So the only reason the disconnect in my mind is that there isn't direct philosophical difference between them, which is what
There's
played
only
out in the Civil
I guess
War.
one's jazz, one's hip hop.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
But even then, those aren't necessarily disagreeable.
Right.
So, but maybe we're getting just a little tiny bit too in depth on the academic elements at play here. Maybe I could just go the lazy route and say Kendrick's involvement in the newest installment of Marvel will make him Black Panther. That was easy.
I feel like that's a cop out.
Oh man, it's such a cop out.
I have one in mind for this next guy, but it's mostly a joke because of memes. Snoop Dogg.
Uh-oh.
The Hulk.
Oh no.
Because they're green.
I understand. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What do you mean? I don't understand. What?
So there's a line in, I think it's the second Avengers movie, where like Bruce Banner goes and he's like, "That's my secret. I'm always angry."
That's the first installment
Is that
in
the
the
first
third
one?
act.
Okay,
right
and I just
before.
have this image of Snoop Dogg going, "It's all good, guys. I'm always on things.
On what?
On greenery."
Huh. Greenery. Now, what do you mean by that?
You're just gonna make me come out and say,
No, don't.
"Okay." He's like, "You really want to push this?" More of a subtle one. Kamasi Washington. He's a very talented saxophone player. He came out with a jazz album a couple months ago.
Oh, so I guess you could say he reads well.
And that's gonna be no.
Woodwind, read? Anybody? No? Good.
But so Kamasi, I don't know how familiar you are with Kamasi Washington.
Not particularly.
So since he's so much associated with a big, like, more jazz thing, I'm to be tempted to put him more in Black Widow or Hawkeye, just because in the movies those two were already associated with kind of that, like, in the industry, especially if you want to make Herbie Hancock Nick Fury.
That would make sense. But what about sort of like the Phil Coulson? Because Phil Coulson,
That is true.
like,
Then he dies.
oh,
Spoilers.
well, but comes back. No spoilers. He doesn't die. Do you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I was gonna say, you're talking about the TV series, aren't you?
I am.
Yep.
It's a good show. It wasn't starting out great.
You know what?
But,
For Nick Fury, Terrace Martin, because he's the one producing it.
oh, well, that might make sense.
Yep.
Or what about, what's her name from How I Met Your Mother, who's always assisting Nick Fury?
Oh, Maria Hill.
Yeah, from How I Met Your Mother.
She's in the next movie coming out.
Oh,
Which
wow.
I hope Nick Fury comes back.
It's a good thing she's not over the hill.
Yep. Thundercat. I just kind of want to make Thor because his name is Thundercat.
That was a shocking discovery.
Yep.
Yep, an
Lightning
electrifying
puns.
idea.
We're gonna run with all of these electrical puns. I wanted to say plugins. Puns.
Oh no.
We need a counter for how many times I mess up things that I'm saying. For those of you who watch my other shows, those are horribly edited and cut. I will retake something 20 times before I actually get the one clip I'm looking for. And even then, it's not great.
Can you do that take again?
I don't even remember what I said.
I retake it 20 times, and even then, sometimes I don't even remember what the clip is.
Yep.
Was I close? Was I close?
Something like that. But so I'd make Thundercat, Thor. Who are some of the other people who are more involved? Travis Scott, more the hip hop oriented one.
Yeah.
He's hot right now.
I usually just
Cut to that Mugato clip from Zoolander. He's so hot right now.
Oh no.
Travis Scott. Who do we have left? We don't have a.
We haven't selected somebody for my man Spider-Man.
Ooh, who's the youngest?
Is that really what we're gonna go with for Spider-Man?
I think Travis Scott might actually be the youngest. How old is Travis?
What about the OG? Spider-Man's kind of like, the flagship for Kirby and Lee.
Travis Scott is 25.
Oh, looks like you just picked it.
Done. I'm hell bent on
Dunyan rings.
on that one. How about Robert Glasper? He's a very well known. He's a jazz pianist in the same vein as Herbie Hancock. Not so much on the electronic piano though.
So who would be if we're going with
Another jazz person.
another jazz? You like jazz?
Well, here, who did we call? Herbie Hancock was Captain America.
In your opinion?
In my opinion, well, if we go with that school of thought, we could make Robert Glasper the Falcon.
Or since he's similar but different, he could be the Iron Man. If we look at Herbie Hancock's philosophy.
I don't know if Robert Glasper's got the pull to be Iron Man.
Does he have the money?
He's won 3 Grammys.
All right, that's good in my book.
And he was nominated for an Emmy. And I could go with that. I could go
Sure.
with that.
Okay. Iron Man. Done.
Sure. Let's go. How about Common? Another rapper.
Yeah.
Who? Well, here. So, well, if we do Kendrick Lamar as Iron Man, we could make Common War Machine.
That would
Given
make sense.
Common has been going longer than Kendrick has, I believe.
Yeah.
When is Common? Common's no, not just the word Common.
Are any of these going to be Marvel villains?
Well, they're all working together, so I mean, if you want to put, you can put a Loki
I
somewhere.
was going to
in
say
there
you
if
could
want
sneak
to.
a Loki in there somewhere.
Common has been active since '87, so that's far before
Yeah.
Kendrick. Yeah,
A little bit.
a little bit.
Just a
Little bit.
Oh no.
So that leaves so the ones we haven't got: Derek Hodge, Flying Lotus, Wayne Shorter, Lionel Lueke.
Wayne. What do we do with Wayne Shorter?
Wayne Shorter's another sax player. What did we make Kamasi Washington?
I don't know.
I don't
can't
even
read.
remember anymore. This
I
is the
can't
problem when
read.
you get too many people involved with an album.
Well, and when you're not writing things down, in spite of the fact that we both have things that we can write things down with.
I
in front
could,
of
but
us.
I'm not going to.
See? Mm-hmm.
Just paw at my keyboard. Who do we've got all the big ones. I guess
I think that-
we still. I guess if in terms of the movies, what Vision, Scarlet Witch,
Bucky.
Winter Soldier, Bucky, or
No,
White Wolf as he's now being because he's a good guy now.
I believe it's pronounced Wolf.
White Wolf.
Yeah.
I mean, Bucky is an American who was brainwashed by Soviets,
Yeah.
or was it?
No,
Germans?
the Nazis.
No, it's Hydra.
It's Hydra.
That's right, the
Zazi
Marvel,
old
the Marvel,
Nazis.
the Marvel Nazis.
That's correct.
Um,
The Red Skull.
that's right.
Yeah. Who never died, by the way.
No,
Just
well,
want-
he's like the main Captain America villain.
I frequently remind people that he was warped away and he didn't die, so he's still a thing. And also, there's no consequences in Marvel. So, like this, nothing really matters.
Nothing really matters to me.
You know, I know a lot of people go there to the Bohemian Rhapsody, but when I hear nothing matters, I think of Metallica.
I'm not as
Nothing else
familiar with that
matters.
one.
Yeah.
Because the Queen is so embroiled in.
The Queen.
Regardless, I mean, we've run out of the big people to do for the Avengers.
All right. So, what's the vinyl verdict?
So the vinyl verdict, I guess, is the big one is Herbie Hancock, Captain America,
It's
or
Cap.
Nick Fury.
Let's go with Cap.
You're going Captain America.
Yeah,
And
because
there
that
you
makes
have it.
the rest of it makes sense.
Herbie Hancock is Captain America. I'm good with that.
I'm good with
Well,
that
his last
too.
name is also Hancock, who is a founding member of this nation.
John Hancock.
Boom.
Don't tell Nick Cage, please.
Regardless, so that wraps up the our pilot episode 0, if you will,
Episode 0.
of Duly Noted.
All right, so spinning the dials radio style in the booth, we have Jaylyn Johnson. He's the producer of this episode. And on the camera, we have Peter Putman of Fueled by Coffee Media and Broken Television Entertainment. So special thanks to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bravo.
Wave, guys.
Good.
All right, that's enough waving.
Oh, nice.
All
oh,
right.
don't do that. Oh, no. Wow, that's
And then hard
FCC.
No, but until next time, there's a bunch of music out there. Make sure you listen to all of it. Duly noted.
My name's Tim.
I am Ma3stro.
In the future, we might have some guests.
We might have some guests.
Maybe. Oh, he's doing the voice. Oh,
We're
he's
doing the voice.
He's connected it to his other thing.
If anybody
Oh.
ever thought if this was me or not, it is me doing it.
Maybe I could make some bad music to connect it to my things. Yeah?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Regardless, until next time, duly noted.
Thanks, friends.
Buy it, use it, break it, fix it, trash it, change it, melt, upgrade it, charge it, point it, zoom it, press it, snap it, work it, quick erase it, hide it, cut it, paste it, save it, load it, check it, quick rewrite it, plug it, play it, burn it, rip it,